Hello everyone, this is Orhan. In this video, I'm going to show you how to download stock prices together with market indices and how to compare them. For this purpose, I'm going to use finance.yahoo.com in case you don't have any access to Bloomberg. When you go to finance.yahoo.com, just write the name of your stock here. So currently, I will show you how to do it with Apple, and then click Apple, and then you will have all the financials about Apple here. In the middle of the page, you would see historical data. So click historical data. Here, there's time period. Choose 5 years. You can choose anything, but I will choose 5 years. So don't forget to hit apply, and then click download data. So once you hit download data, you will have an Excel sheet with all the information about Apple. Currently, I will only use adjusted close and volume. So this is adjusted close of Apple, and this is the trading volume of Apple. So let's form a column writing returns, maybe Apple returns. So let's calculate the Apple returns, percentage returns, the change. So this is going to be Apple returns, and then you can compare it with the volume directly, or you can also calculate the change in volume here. That will be fine. Let's see how the volume changes from yesterday to today. So this is going to be percentage change of volume. You can do it with the volume itself, fine, but let's just do it with volume change. Let's just draw them both together. Just select these two things using your mouse, and then drag and drop, or use Ctrl+Shift-down arrow to select the whole column. Insert, go to insert. From insert, there's line chart here. Click line chart and select the very first one here. Okay, so in this volume, the blue one is Apple returns and orange one is volume change. But as you can see, the volume change it's too much, and it probably hides the Apple returns. What we can do is right click on the data, click format data series, and change it to secondary axis so that you can see them both. So right click on the chart, and then format data series and secondary axis here. So the blue one is Apple return and the orange one is volume change. So change the chart title to returns versus volume change. So one thing we did not do here is on x-axis you see numbers. We should change it to dates. Right click on the date, select data, go to, you will see in a window here, hit edit here, and select the dates. Okay, so this is going to be the dates of x-axis. Okay, so now you see the dates. So this is one way of comparing returns with volume change visually, but if you want to have some concrete or solid number, so you can click on any cell and write Corel. So for Corel, it's asking two data series, the first one and the second one here. For the first one, choose Apple column, okay, and then comma, do the same thing for volume change. So hit the very first cell and then Ctrl+Shift-down arrow will select all and close the parenthesis. So you would see some number here, -14. So as you might know, correlation coefficient, this is called correlation coefficient. It shows the relationship between two data series. It is between -1 and +1. -1 shows perfect negative relationship, +1 shows perfect positive relationship, and 0 shows no relationship. So as you can see, this is very close to 0. So in this case, the volume and Apple returns are not correlated much. So now we can compare Apple returns with stock market index returns. So what you can do is, again, go to Yahoo Finance and right here S&P 500, and then do the same thing with this ticker, and then download 5-year stock price indexes, which I did before I record this video. So it's here. I'm going to copy and paste it to the other Excel sheet, okay, just to save time. So I copied it, and I'm going to paste it here. Maybe I can just copy this correlation to here and delete these two columns. So we have S&P 500, S&P 500 returns. So generally, when we say market index or market returns, we mean like these indices, market indices, S&P 500. Let's compare the performances of Apple and S&P 500. So to do this, so right here, Apple, right here, S&P 500, just to prepare a table for comparison. So, and then mean, standard deviation, and maybe correlation. Okay, so just like let's prepare a table like that. And then now let's compare their performances. Okay, hit the very first cell of Apple mean, right here average, and let's see the Apple returns average. So this is Apple return. Do the same thing for S&P 500 returns, right average, and select the whole column, close the parentheses. So just let's increase these decimals to 2. As you can see, Apple is far higher than S&P 500. And do the same thing for standard deviation, STDEV, this one, and select standard deviation of Apple, and then close the parentheses. Do the same thing for S&P 500. So basically, we are comparing the return performance, average return performance, and standard deviation performance of the market indices and one stock. So for correlation, I'm going to cut it and paste it here. Let's write here coefficient of variation, CV. As you might remember, coefficient of variation adjusts the average performance of stock with risk. To calculate coefficient of variation, we need to divide standard deviation by the mean. So standard deviation. So let's talk a minute about this mean and standard deviation. So as you can see, Apple is 6 times higher than S&P 500 mean for a little increase in the risk. So the risk of Apple is of course higher than S&P 500, but it gives you almost 6 times higher return. So coefficient of variation is standard deviation divided by average return. Do the same thing here. Oh, okay, let's decrease those numbers to 2. So now you see, like it's clearer now that Apple's risk adjusted by the mean is like, let's change that to normal numbers without decimals. Without percentages, I'm sorry. So you don't need percentages for decimals. Fine, I mean, you can do it with or without percentage, fine. So coefficient of variation of Apple is 25, coefficient of variation of S&P 500 is 95, which means that the risk adjusted by the return is far higher in S&P 500 than in Apple. So Apple, comparing and just looking at those two variables, mean and standard deviation, coefficient of variation, which is risk adjusted by mean, is far, so Apple looks far safer than S&P 500 in terms of those two decimals, those two parameters. This is a simple comparison. Once again, let me summarize before proceeding. Apple's mean is higher, Apple's standard deviation is higher, but when we use the coefficient of variation adjusting those two parameters, Apple looks far safer than S&P 500 investment. Okay, so how about the 5-year performance? So let's write here 5-year performance. So to do this, let's see how Apple performed in 5 years. So this is Apple stock prices. So today divided by like the day in 5 years ago. So this is Apple's performance, 5-year performance. Do the same thing for S&P 500. Column F is S&P's like in this indexes. Today divided by the day 5 years ago. So this is their performance. So in 5 years, Apple's percentage return is 92%. S&P 500 is just 6%. So if you invested $1,000 in Apple, so you would have made $1,924. If you just like do the same thing for S&P 500 index, so it will $1,069. So this is basically the comparison of one stock and market index. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next videos.